Hello, so new day around here, my fourth day in Rotterdam. And as you can notice, today starts on a bit more of a downer note, but I'll explain it on the way. Do you want to say hi just once? So, this is because I found out about Rotterdam's secretive fight club. No, which isn't anything as exciting. So, originally today, I think I'll wait to get closer there because nowadays I already know that the wind gets a lot of really bad. So if you're trying to show the wind, that's excellent. But if you're actually trying to talk, then that's terrible. Okay. Today we even got some sun, and my original idea was to actually go to the headache conference that's happening here. So as most of you probably know, there are many headache societies, and one of them is the European Headache Society. I guess I'll keep talking later. It's so silent here, I think people might be bothered. Telling you about how I find the exclusive Rotterdam Fight Club. No, nothing quite like that. In fact, today I had hoped to go for a conference of some friends, acquaintances, friendly acquaintances of mine, and there's also a headache conference happening in Rotterdam. By pure coincidence, there is a conference that's being organized by some people I've worked with in the past. So like a year ago there was a campaign called the Migrant Friendly Hospital, and I did the images and the video for them.
Join the movement to create a migrant-friendly healthcare environment. Join us on March 17th to 24th for the Headache Awareness Week, a shared initiative of the International Headache Society.
So it was an invitation, and Dr. Mário Pérez, also from Brazil, which is the current president of the International Headache Society, invited me. And so through that work I got to know some of the presidents and directors of other headache societies, like in Europe and Turkey. But I had never met them in person, except for Dr. Mário, which I met at an event at Albert Einstein Hospital in São Paulo. So my idea today was to at least get to know them. Yet I woke up feeling a bit ill, threw up twice, had an episode of lipophilia, fell on my sink and injured my eyebrow. So, not as romantic or as beautiful as it could be, but the reason I'm sharing this with you is because this is real life. When I talk about traveling to some other people, for example, particular people who don't travel a lot, and I'm already arrived, so I think I'll finish this conversation later after I try to at least shake their hands. But future Ricardo coming here from Amsterdam to finish the story I started in Rotterdam. So I told you about how I got this cut, and it wasn't by finding Rotterdam's mysterious fight club. It was because I threw up a couple of times, passed out, hit my head on the sink, and then found myself on the floor in less than savory conditions. personally decided to share this video. First, of course, because we're going to see, but more than anything else, because this is real life, to show how a trip really works. Because sometimes people, mostly people who don't travel or who have never traveled abroad, for example, will tell me, wow, you've been to this place and you've done this thing. That's fantastic, that's perfect, I wish that was me. That's like the most perfect travel ever. And no, actually it isn't. All travels are fraught with difficulties and problems, and in the end they are worth it. But I'm yet to see perfect travel. I traveled a lot with my grandparents, and my grandfather used to say, tourists suffer. That was kind of an inside joke for us, because when you are a tourist, you pretty much you have to wake up early, you always sleep late, you pretty much spend one night at every place, and you have to be always packing and unpacking, and you have a really tight schedule, and you often have to wait a lot and follow like many rules from what you are visiting and what you are doing. And it is entirely true. So to some degree I use this inside joke to this day. Tourists suffer, and that does not make it not worthwhile, but I really believe that's the correct mindset to have. No travel is perfect. All travels can be worth the experience. And so I've so many times gotten ill, for example, while traveling, or somehow injure myself or something like that, and yet I don't regret it. I think I learned a lot with this trip, particularly from like dealing with the Dutch transit system to learning how to deal with extreme wind. Just taught a lot me also about dealing with the cold and the wind, and how a colder seats works in the winter. And I think it was a great experience, and despite all that happened, I think that's just part of it. I think it's really important to be aware that being a tourist doesn't make you magically immune to death or disease or problems. You could just be staying at the best five hotels, the best 5-star hotel in the city, and have a stroke in your room and die. So you can have problems while traveling, but I believe that that's just like anywhere else in your life. We try to do the best we can with that, and it usually works out, and personally I think it's worth it. In the same sense, I mean, if you do really like ships and you are a ship aficionado and you want to get to see ships and go into ships, then perhaps, sure, the museum costs less than 20 euros, I